Okay.
Are we recording?
Yes.
All right. This is my final segment of the Ageless How to Get Yourself in Good Physical Condition series on YouTube.
Ageless Al's Fantastic Fitness. We'll call it that.
If that's the title you like.
Okay.
So I'm going to recap what we've been doing over the course of the last few weeks of what we've been filming. Again, the real purpose of this was to demonstrate how you can go from not being in tip-top shape and having a number of diseases, injuries, illness, and through diet and exercise primarily, working yourself back into shape. So I hope you've enjoyed the series. I know there's a lot of little segments to it. I think we've got over 50 of them at last count.
54.
54, all right. We may add some more if there's demand for it. I haven't shown everything that I've done, but it's a nice representative sample, and hopefully you'll find it helpful. But to wrap this initial series up, I just wanted to go over 5 basic tenets that I want you to keep in mind before you decide to start this yourself. Number 1, which I said in the very beginning, make sure you consult with your physician. Okay?
Yeah.
We only want you doing what you can handle and what your physician thinks you're good to do. So if you need to have a full physical first, get a stress test, make sure you're clear to do things. You don't want to go against the grain of what your doctor recommends because you don't want to get hurt, you don't want to get sick, you don't want to get injured. You don't want to put yourself in the hospital. You don't want to kill yourself either. So by all means, please consult with your physician before you try any of this. Okay?
Yep.
And the other thing is, if you are on medications, which I was when I started this 4.5 years ago, you need to continue to take those until you're at a point where both you and your doctor feel comfortable either reducing the dosage or eliminating the dosage. I didn't just suddenly drop medication and then go tackle fitness as a cure-all. I had to keep taking those medications for my back pain, for my acid reflux, for my high blood pressure and my high blood sugar. I also have bronchial asthma, so I still have to take that. I was born with that, unfortunately, so that's something as an inhaler I always have to take and probably will for the rest of my life. So I don't want to get off of everything cold turkey. That doesn't make any sense. You want to work at it gradually until you get to a point where you can incrementally reduce dosages and hopefully eventually get off of them entirely. Everybody's physiology is a little bit different, so what works for me may not exactly work for you. It may have to take a little tweaking. You might find results faster, it might take longer. You may never completely get off of drugs. That was my goal. I wanted to get off the drugs entirely because I knew that the side effects long term weren't good for my internal organs more than anything else. Number 2, set some goals for you that are realistic. And they're probably going to change over time. When I first started doing this, it was all I could do back in the spring of 2014 to do 3 sessions, 1 hour each time per week. And at the end of each of those sessions, I was drained. I would break out into cold sweats in the car driving home sometimes. It wasn't pretty. It took a while before I started getting in better shape, slowly but surely. Was able to increase the time, increase the frequency. I've now reached a point where I work at about 13 to 13.5 hours a week. That's over 4 sessions, so it's about 3.5 hours each session.
Yeah, I try to make 3 sessions.
So the good news is that over that course of time, I've gotten stronger, gotten fitter. My stamina has increased tremendously, but I've taken it gradually. I haven't tried to rush through it too fast. Same with the weight loss. I wanted to drop 70 pounds. I wanted to get from 250 to 180. I was able to do that, but I didn't want to go at it too fast. I wanted to avoid the risk of ketoacidosis, part of the reason. The other was I wanted to incrementally get it off and be able to keep it off through lifestyle changes. So over the course of the first 2.5 to 3 years is when I lost pretty much all of that weight. In the last year or so, I've gained back about 10 pounds of muscle. But my body fat mass is pretty low. It's around 10% right now. And that's fine. That satisfies my objectives. My real objective was to get off of medications. I was able to do that. So that was my goal.
All right.
The other thing that's good about this goal setting is you want to make it your lifestyle. want to keep motivating yourself to set new goals, because when you achieve certain short-term goals, then you want to kind of up the ante a little bit. Increase your weights, increase your tolerance for duration, increase your aerobic capacity, and all those kinds of things. So set new ones as you achieve them over time. And always remember what you originally started the program out for in the first place. For me, it was getting off medications, and I want to stay off of them, so I'm going to keep doing what I keep doing.
Right.
Okay?
All right, so let's move on.
So we talked about nutrition a little bit. You want to eat nutritionally dense foods, organic, if you can afford them. I can't always afford that, but I do what I can. And nevertheless, I stick to lean protein, vegetables primarily. I eat a little bit of fruit. Generally, it's lower sugar fruit like berries, cantaloupe, pears, peaches, that sort of thing. And I usually eat them in the mornings and not later in the day. You especially don't want to eat them at night, because they do have carbohydrates and some sugar in there. And whatever you don't burn carbon sugar-wise just gets converted to body fat. So if weight loss is part of your goal, be sparing with the amount of fruit that you eat.
Right.
Don't eat big meals. I eat 3 meals a day, but I also have smaller meals, and I snack in between those meals. I eat vegetables and nuts chiefly. I do eat a little bit of dark chocolate once in a blue moon. I'll mix some of that with some of my nuts when I eat that. A little dark chocolate is fine. There's a tiny bit of caffeine in it, but I only eat like a couple of squares. I usually buy a Lindt 90% dark chocolate bar.
So you put chocolate on your nuts?
That's not normal.
You know what I mean, Christopher.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so it's okay to snack a little bit, add a little spice to it, like a little bit of chocolate, a little bit of cinnamon. Those are good, but you don't want to go crazy with high fat things like milk chocolate, a lot of breads, a lot of pasta, a lot of cakes, cookies, pies, those kinds of things. If you eat a taste of one of those once in a while on a special occasion, that's fine, but the less you eat of that, the better off you're going to be in the long run. Okay?
Okay.
That's about all I can say on the food side. Let's talk about exercise, which is most of what these segments are all about. And I can't emphasize enough, especially when you're older, which I am, you want to warm up and stretch a little bit first. Now, everybody's different. I go through about a 30-minute routine for me, but that's what it takes me to kind of get going. I've had arthritis in my spine from one end to the other, so some days, especially if I start working out early in the morning, it takes a little while to kind of limber up and loosen up. But I find 30 minutes works for me. You may find it you only need 10 or 15. Don't go crazy with the cardio at the beginning. All you want to do is warm up so that when you start doing weight training exercise or weight bearing exercise, you're not stiff and at risk of tearing something before you even get started. Do your weight routines. Ideally, try to do what you can do comfortably enough where you can do like 8 to 10 repetitions. By the time you get to the end of those repetitions, you should be just about at the fatigue point. Now, when you can get to the point where you're comfortable with that, now you start increasing the reps a little bit, start increasing the weights a little bit. Over time, you want to get to a point where you want to do 3 sets of things. And the mix of those sets can vary. I generally do an 8, 10, 12, or sometimes a 10, 11, 12, sometimes 10, 12, 15, depending on what the exercise is. And I tend to do my heaviest weight with the lowest number of reps, and then I increase the reps with slightly lighter weights. Most of the things that I do, I start heavy first and then go lighter. There are exceptions to that, though, and you'll have to figure out which way works better for you.
Right.
For instance, when I do the leg press, I do a lot of heavy weight on that. I start off at 400 to warm up, and then I keep adding on, and I do my maximum weight last. But most of the other exercises I do, bench press, for instance, I'll start off usually with the heaviest weight I can handle, which right now is about 210, and then I'll work my way down and increase the weight reps, increase the reps as I lower the weight. Right. So you'll have to figure that out for yourself over time. You don't want to strain, because you don't want to hurt yourself. You want to make sure you breathe, okay? Don't hold your breath while you're trying to push something or pull something. Make sure that you're taking advantage of the negative movement. So if you push something out at one speed, come back about half speed, okay?
Right.
You want to make sure you feel the resistance coming back the other way.
Okay.
All too often I see people working out and they go boom, 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 and they're not getting the full advantage of the negative movement. Okay, we've talked about that in some of the other video segments. No more than about a 20-second pause between sets if you're doing multiple sets.
Right.
You don't want to rest yourself too much. But 15 seconds, 20 seconds, by that point the ATP has recharged into your muscles and you should be pretty much good to go. The point is, by the end of that third set, you should be pretty much at the fatigue point. You don't want to be able to do too much more than that. That means you're actually helping to build the muscle, making it stronger. All right?
All right.
Save your cardio for the end, especially if you're trying to lose weight. All right? 20 minutes, 30 minutes tops is generally all you really need. And if you really want to maximize the fat burn, do the interval cardio that we've talked about. Go 2 minutes at a moderate pace, let's say you're on an elliptical machine, and then charge it real hard for about a minute, and then throttle back to a moderate pace at 2 minutes again, and then go to another high-speed interval for a minute.
And so on and so on.
Back and forth until you get to the end of your 20 or 30-minute time period.
Right.
That'll help burn the fat a whole lot more efficiently than if you're going at the same pace throughout the entire routine.
All right.
We also talked about supplements.
Yeah, we did a video on that.
So there's pre and post shakes. We talked about some of the stuff for that. I always take a whey protein isolate shake before and after. That helps me have some energy to start, and then it helps me with the rebuild after I get done with the routine. So I try to do it somewhere between 45 minutes to an hour before, and then within 45 minutes after. You'll have to work out what vitamin and mineral supplements work best for you. I take a lot of them, as you saw in the video segment that we did on that topic. Everybody's a little bit different. They'll have to decide what works for them. I take some basic vitamins and minerals, but I also supplement with fish oil and stuff for prostate health. You name it, I probably take it, more than most people do. But it has helped me. It has helped me with the fitness and helped me with slowing down the aging process. Make sure you hydrate during your workouts. If you're only doing an hour 3 times a week, you can probably get away with just taking a few sips from the water fountain at the gym. But as you start getting into this more and more, you're going to find that you're going to start losing water and electrolytes. So I drink a Smart Water. I take a 33-ounce bottle with me to the gym every time, and I go through that usually every time, and sometimes I still add more water to it, especially on warmer and more humid days. So always make sure you're hydrating. The older you get, the more quickly your cells start to dry out too. It's just part of the aging process, unfortunately. My skin gets drier as I get older, and it doesn't retain the water like it used to. We start turning into raisins instead of plump grapes.
Right.
That's the analogy that the people at the gym use. And it's a good one, because that's what it is. When you're youthful, you don't have the wrinkles. That's because your cells are more hydrated like grapes. But as you get older, it doesn't stay that way forever. So I always keep trying to replenish so I don't get dehydrated. That's pretty much all I can say at this point in time. Again, I hope you've enjoyed this. I'm looking forward to receiving some feedback. I hope I help somebody, maybe several somebodies in the process here, because this has been a life-changing moment for me, and it has probably saved my life.
Yeah, if this helps even one person, this series is probably worth it.
If it hasn't extended my life, I'm hoping at least it keeps the quality high right up until the end.
Right. All right, so anything else to say to the viewers?
Nope.
Okay.
That'll do it. Thanks.
All right.